Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering human creativity. I am Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Toni-Marie Montgomery, who serves as Dean of the Bienen School of Music at Northwestern University. Toni-Marie, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Aaron. It's a pleasure to be with you, albeit Zoom, but I'm glad to be here.
Totally. Well, it is always my honor. I not only, of course, am familiar with all of your work, like so many in the field, but also have had the benefit and privilege to be able to know you personally over the years, be able to partner with you in a number of ways, including through Sphinx. So just thank you again for all of your leadership. So in some ways, I feel like this will be one of my bittersweet interviews because a big thing I would like to talk with you about is your legacy at Northwestern. Because for those in our audience who may not know, Dean Montgomery will be stepping down at the end of this year, the 2022-23 academic year, after 2 decades of an extraordinary legacy and service at the school. So I'd love to kind of just first start off with that and just kind of ask maybe that kind of key question that I'm sure all audience members think about when someone steps down, which is, did anything kind of prompt you to say, you know what, now's time to write a new chapter?
Good question. And not too many people have actually asked that, but the usual tenure of a dean, and you know this very well, Aaron, is 5 to 7 years. Northwestern didn't institute a 5-year tenure for deans until about 10 years ago. And so there are actually 2 other deans, they happen to be women, who preceded me, who also served for 20 years. And I joke with people, but it's true. I'm very competitive. And so I wanted to reach that 20-year tenure. But I would honestly say that I feel as though we have accomplished so much in the school. I don't think that I have the same energy thinking of what new initiatives could we institute. And so I do think that because the school is in such great shape, that this is an appropriate time. We have a new president of the university. I'm sure that there will be another capital campaign that will begin at some time soon. And we were very successful with the recent campaign in surpassing the goal. So I think many things, and of course, I will add that COVID has changed a lot of people's lives. Our provost correctly says that for our school, the music school, we were the most impacted because students still came. They were interested in being here. We couldn't provide the same type of ensemble activities. So an orchestra then was, 8, maybe 14 students, the same with band. And really the vocal students, they're the ones who suffered the most because we were concerned just about, the spread. And so you can't really do choir over Zoom. You can learn repertoire, but I would say that the vocal students were the ones who suffered the most. So in my long response, I would say that all those things together just made me think that it's time to hand over the reins and to look for other activities in which I could be instrumental.
Absolutely. And as you kind of reflect back, it seems to me like a lot of leaders, right, when you're in the thick of it, in the midst of things, it's kind of difficult to, kind of just look back and see kind of this tapestry of impact. And so I was gonna, kind of ask you, as you now have this opportunity to reflect back on 2 decades, is there something that stands out for you as the most kind of impactful, or the thing that you're most proud of? However, before I ask you to answer that, there are at least two things that I wanted to kind of note and ask you about that certainly stand out to me. And one is your leadership. You were the first African American dean, I believe, first African American female dean, and first African American, one of the first African American deans of a major music school. And I'm just wondering, as you reflect on that component, do you have thoughts about that leadership that you were able to bring, that others who were able to follow in your footsteps, who look to you for inspiration, for mentorship as a role model? Just wondering how you reflect on the cultural history that you've made in your role.
That's a big question, Aaron. Well, thank you for mentioning that. And the fact that I was the first African American dean at Northwestern was a big deal, and still is in my mind. I'm fortunately joined by two other African American deans at the university, so that's always the goal, that there will be more who are in positions of leadership who can then, as you said, serve as role models. I can't tell you the number of students of color, majority students who come talk to me, asking for advice. And, that's something that I really relish, because none of us, as you know, have achieved what we've achieved on our own. And so I feel very fortunate. And also, of course, I've worked hard, but I was provided opportunities, for which I feel very fortunate. And so I think the fact that there are more faculty of color, that there are more administrators then of color who are here at the university, is really significant at a private institution like Northwestern.
Definitely. And unless I'm wrong, you have actually hired over 2/3 of all of the faculty at the school. Is that correct?
That's correct. Of course, when we were putting together the announcement about my stepping down, then, I started counting who were the faculty whom I have hired during this time. And we have made a major transformation in the school. Of course, there are faculty whom I did not hire who are excellent faculty and are continuing to contribute to the education of students. But there has been a great change. And what's interesting is that when I talk to, say, the search firm that's looking for my successor, the biggest challenge I see, not only for our school, but I, of course, will speak for our school, is the fact that so many of our faculty will be retiring in the next 5+ years. And so our school will look very differently than it does now. And I see that as a big challenge, because when I do look at other competitor institutions, their faculty are about the same age, especially in performance, where we look for a studio faculty member who has proven experience, who I call them the magnets for attracting students, and someone who's newly minted a DMA or PhD. They don't have that reputation. And so when you are looking for individuals who are at that higher level, then you are looking at individuals who are older. So it will be interesting just to follow the school and the new hires that are made. And of course, I refer to our new building, the Ryan Center for the Musical Arts, as my 12-year-old baby. Why? That was a long gestation process. But the reason is that when I actually came for 2 interviews, it was obviously intentional that I was kept away from the building. And the building was the Music Administration building, which was built in 1874. It was a women's college. And we were separated by almost a mile from a newer building that was built in 1975, Regenstein. And so the school was really bifurcated. And it was like having 2 schools. So the fact that, yes, it took 12 years to convince people that, yes, we need a new building, but more so the time is spent in identifying funding sources, because of course, music alums, if you then, we do have alums in the New York Philharmonics, the San Francisco Symphony, but those salaries do not compare to, say, a Kellogg alum, that's our business school, or McCormick, the engineering school, or the investments that those individuals have. So we are very fortunate that alumni of the university who were not necessarily music alums then contributed to this building. And so just shows from the trustees, the presidents, because I'm saying plural because we have had several presidents, that there is that support for the arts at a research university. I don't take that lightly. And so we're really appreciative. And by the way, we have the best view of Chicago from our building. So we're very fortunate.
Right. Yes. And I was going to say that's what I was going to ask you about next, of course, because it is. And from a fellow Go Blue institution over here, you can, gaze over very longingly at really just an incredible facility. And having been in the different roles that I've been honored to be in, just knowing the diligence, the extraordinary hard work, and compelling case that you needed to make for the arts to be able to literally architect such an amazing facility that serves so many students and faculty. It really is a triumph and stands out in our field. The facility stands out in our field. It really is extraordinary.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Even now when I walk into the building and in the lobby, I still have an aha moment because you can see the lake, which changes every day. Faculty and students, faculty from their offices and the students from practice rooms are sending photos of the building and the views. So that's one thing that I definitely will miss, because I have a beautiful view right now of the city of Chicago and the lake. But of course, the people are the ones whom I will miss the most. I am a tenured faculty member, and so I will have a year. Each dean at Northwestern gets a year to, quote, retool, to relearn how to teach. And then the expectation is that I would come back after that year to then be a faculty member. And, I truthfully am deciding about that. There's so many things that I would like to do. I love children, and I need to find something other than teaching them piano, let me be honest, that I could do with little kids. And it would be great also to be on a board. I'm on the Ravinia board, Ravinia Festival, and CSO, Chicago Symphony Orchestra board. But I'd like to be on a board where I can contribute, my years of management skills and financial. And in other words, I'd like to be on a board that pays rather than always in contributing.
Totally. Absolutely. Well, I have absolutely no doubt that your next chapters are going to continue to be filled with impact for our field, for young people, and for change, in kind of the overall ecosystem that is so beneficial to everyone. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but I always like to ask of all my guests, during all of this tenure of leadership, there's got to be tough times and times when you need to draw on inspiration or strength. And just wondering, as a leader, thinking about all of the people who watch the show who are in their various leadership roles, how do you deal with that? Where do you turn to for strength and inspiration during the toughest of times?
Well, thank you for asking that question. And when I think about the answer, I would say, number one, I am a spiritual person. And so I do pray, and, I believe in a higher being, but also I depend on friends. I'm an only child, and so I have no siblings, and my parents are deceased, but I depend a lot on friends who will be honest with me, who will not say, oh, yes, you're doing the right thing, but who will challenge me, who can provide support. And of course, I then want to provide that same support to them. And again, when we think about COVID, It was a difficult time for many people. I feel fortunate because in my late age, you may want to cut this out, but at my late age, I found a partner, and he's been really wonderful. So again, I'm really grateful for all the gifts that have been given to me, and look forward to giving back and providing, level of support and inspiration to other individuals.
Toni-Marie Montgomery, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Aaron, for the invitation. I really appreciate it. And happy holidays to you.